Sometimes closing the sale on the first call can be really, really difficult. So inside of this video training, I am going to take you through 5 steps to closing the sale on the first call. Now, this is a process that I call looping and containing. So first, what we're going to do is I want to hear from you. What's difficult about closing sales? Because I want to make sure that I address this in this video, and I really want you to get to put yourself in the mindset of why is it so difficult for you, and start to step into the mindset of your particular client. Then I'm going to take you through those 5 steps to closing the sale on the first call. I am not going to go through a whole big long spiel around, the what to do and not give you the how. We're going to get really specific today. I'm going to give you the exact steps and exactly what to say and exactly how to say that. At the end of this video, then what I will do is I'll tell you a little bit more about what it looks like for us to work together if you would like to, and if you would like to get a little bit more help with that. So what I want to do is I want you to take a moment and just think about what makes closing sales on the first call difficult, okay? I'm going to give you a very brief intro about myself while you think about that. And I just want you to write it down on a piece of paper right in front of you. What's hard about closing sales for you, and what's difficult inside of your market around what you sell? Now, while you're doing that, you might be wondering who I am and why I'm qualified to talk to you about creating selling systems in your business. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Heather Pistansky. I've been in sales for 15 years, and I've been training people to sell and achieve crazy high close rates with so much love since I was 21 years old. So that's about 13 years experience in teaching people how to sell. I have sold to huge companies like Walmart, 3M, and Allstate Insurance. And I've also sold to a lot of people who are just starting out. I've sold marketing through my agency. I've sold financial services. I've sold mortgages. I've sold funky $25 pairs of leggings. And I've sold $75,000 coaching packages. So you name it. And believe it or not, I am not a glamour puss or an Instagram model. I'm just a gal who grew up in a really small farm town with 0 connections. I won't go anywhere if I can't wear leggings. I drive a really practical car, and I couldn't hit a golf ball if my life depended on it. So I know that you don't need to be a stereotypical salesperson in order to be successful. You just need to have a lot of love for your prospects, and you need to have a really great selling system, which includes a system for closing. And that's what I'm going to teach you about today. I'm going to teach you everything I can in the time that we have today about building a closing system, okay? So let me just check in with you. I want to hear a little bit about what's hard about closing sales. Might it be that you get a lot of objections? So maybe you aren't talking to qualified prospects. Maybe the prospects that you're speaking to are telling you that they can't afford it, or that now is not the right time, or that they're shopping around and they're comparing you to other people. Maybe what's hard about closing sales is actually a mindset that you have right now, that it's going to be hard, or that you don't want to ask for the sale because you feel really salesy doing it, right? Whatever that is, I want you to keep that in the forefront of your mind as we go through this training together. So let's dive right in, okay? When selling, especially when selling something that we created, we tend to take objections at face value. Now, sometimes the objections someone gives us are valid. Sometimes somebody can't actually afford your offer because it's been working with you. It's between working with you or, putting food on the table. In that case, they're going to put food on the table for their family. But most of the time, objections are a processing technique that we use when we feel we need more information. So how many of you have ever left a sales call and did more research before making a yay or a nay decision, right? And how many of you have ever wanted to buy something, but you just couldn't pull the trigger and you couldn't quite figure out why. You just couldn't figure out walking out of that sales call why you couldn't pull the trigger, but you just knew that you couldn't move forward with it right then. So there are actually 4 different ways that we might be wired to make decisions. And I'm not going to go into detail here, but those of you who have been following me for a while, you might have seen some of my training on the 4 different decision makers. The long and the short of it is that some of us are wired to make decisions when we see our future selves benefiting from it. Other people need to see a very clear path from where they're at today to where they want to go. So they need to see step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4 from point A to point B. And no matter how much information that you give them, if they're unable to see that path, they won't be able to make a decision. Other people are wired to need to see that it's worked for other people, and so that they can make a decision. So even though it would be a vastly great benefit to them, if it's never worked for anyone else, and if they can't speak to those people and get those proof points, they won't be able to move forward. And then some of us are wired to feel that we need to have complete information. We need to have all of the possible information about something before we can make a smart and rational decision. And if any part of the information feels incomplete, then we're not going to be able to move forward. Now, the fact is that we don't always have self-awareness into the way that we personally make decisions. We just know that something is off, but we can't quite put our finger on it in order to ask the right questions. And this is how many of your prospects are feeling. There's something off. They know that this will solve their problem. Maybe you even ask them, what's missing? What else can I give you here in order for this to solve your problem? And they're like, I don't know. It sounds really good, but I'll just have to see if I can afford it, or I need to think about it, or I need to talk to my spouse about it. And that's when we give people sales objections, when something isn't quite right, when something is broken in our decision-making process, and we're trying to rationalize what that thing is. So let's break down then the 5-step process that is going to help you to get to the bottom of your client's objections and help you move them to a 100% yes, okay, or to a 100% no. Now, I just want to caveat here and check in on some mindset stuff first. So some people will tell you that if you get an objection from someone, that they aren't bought into you and they aren't a good fit. Scientifically, guys, this just isn't true. And to be honest, there are certain types of decision makers that will absolutely not be able to close on the first call. But I'm going to still walk you through how you can still close them within 24 hours instead of going through that really weird follow-up period, right? This is just simply the way that their brains are wired. My husband's like this. He's a collector of information. He needs the time to process the information that is given. I'm what I like to call a shotgun decision maker. I hop on, as long as I can see my future self benefiting, I'm like, how do I give you all my money, right? But not everyone is wired the same way in the way that they make decisions. Now, what usually happens is that someone gives us an objection and we say that we're going to follow up, right? Once we hang up the phone, we enter what I like to call follow-up hell. And that's the space where everyone just feels really uncomfortable. You send them an email to follow up. They still don't have the information that they need to make a decision because the conversation ended and you told them you're going to follow up. So how are they supposed to get that information, right? Maybe you send them some brochures or send them to your sales page, but the information that they're looking for just isn't there. So then they feel awkward and flaky about not getting back to you, or they give you an excuse, and then you get frustrated, right? And you blame them for not wanting it badly enough or wasting your time, when really, I'm going to put this back on you. It is your fault. It is your fault as a salesperson for not doing your job, because your job on a sales call is to lead someone to a 100% yes or a 100% no. Your job is not to close the sale. It's not to persuade somebody into buying. It's simply to lead them through that decision. And if you leave the call on an objection, then you, my friend, have received a 100% maybe, which means that you haven't done your job. But if you follow the framework that we're going to walk through here today, then you will be doing your job and you will be able to get to the root of any objection and lead someone powerfully to a yes or a no 100%. Firework just went off right outside my window. That was freaky. All right, so the first step happens before you even get on the call with somebody, and that is that we need to pre-qualify them. Right? So ideally, we want to weed out the true objections, like people who genuinely can't afford to do the work with us. We want to weed those out before we get on the call with them, because it's not fair to sell somebody on something that they really, really want, and then they go, oh, I'm so crushed, I can't afford this, right? That's not fair to them, and it's not fair to you to spend all of that time on the phone with them if they are not in a position to move forward. So this is going to look a little bit different for everyone, but I like to use a pre-call questionnaire that they need to fill out before our time together. Now, I have a couple of rules around this. Number one is that you don't want to weed out or make assumptions about anyone until after they filled out the questionnaire and you have real data, okay? And number two, if they can't fill out a simple questionnaire, then they definitely aren't ready to do the heavy work that I'm going to ask them to do. So no questionnaire to answer, no call, period. All right, I will cancel a scheduled call if they do not fill out the pre-call questionnaire, because if they can't do that, then they aren't ready to put in the work that is necessary in order to get the result. Now, I'm going to caveat this as well. I know a lot of coaches out there who will say, you know, well, if they don't do the work, they don't get the result, and therefore I don't guarantee results. Now, I'm not one of those people. If you do the work and you don't get the result, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is and I'm going to refund your money. And I think that you should be the same. If you cannot guarantee that someone will get a result through your work together, or to get that value through your work together, then it isn't ethical to take their money. So before my call with somebody, I typically will say to them something like this. To make the most of our time together, I'm going to send over a pre-call questionnaire for you to fill out. This will help me get to know a little bit about your situation so that we can use the time on our call more effectively. I'll need this back at least 24 hours before our call, and it will take about 10 minutes to fill out. Is that cool? Now, ideally, you want your pre-call questionnaire to handle the objections that you get most often. So if money always comes up, then you might ask them something like, what is your current biggest struggle and why do you think this is the case? And then ask them the follow-up of, what would solving this be worth to you or to your business? It's uncomfortable to ask and it's uncomfortable to answer, but it will get the money question out of the way in a safe environment, because it's not live, it's in a questionnaire where they can think about it, and it will eliminate that awkwardness on the phone. Now, you can also use your pre-call questionnaire to weed out the type of people that you don't work well with. So for example, I don't work well with people who have victim mentalities and who blame anyone but themselves for their problems. So listen, I lost my entire 73,000 person email list. That's like a stadium of people that I had following me. I lost it all. And I lost my entire business social media following, and I lost access to my advertising accounts with 60,000 people in custom audiences that I had built up over the past 3 years. And I lost that all because a hacker broke into my business and abused and ran up charges on those ad accounts and removed me and wiped my list clean, and it wasn't able to be recovered. Was that my fault? No. But it would be my fault if I allowed it to destroy my business, right? It would be my fault if I'd allowed that massive hiccup, and it was massive, to mean that I couldn't pay my bills all of a sudden that much, right? I can't just go to the bank and say, yeah, my business was hacked last month, so I can't pay my mortgage this month. Cool? right? So I definitely don't want to work with anybody who will use a challenge to say, well, I couldn't do what I was supposed to do, or I need to be let out of my contract because I had this roadblock get in my way. And even though the work we're doing together is helping, it's too hard. Right? So to weed those people out, I know the work that we do together is difficult, then I'll ask them something like, what's holding you back from creating your perfect life and business right now? If they answer anything other than something they can control themselves, it's a no-go for me. So then I can release them from the call. So that's step one. We want to weed out potential disqualifiers before you get on the call with somebody, so that then if it's not a good fit, you can reach back out and say, you know what? I went over your pre-call questionnaire and I'm just simply not the right person to help you at this time. So what I want to do is I want to send you to this other referral source, to this other resource, so that you can get the help that you truly need. So step number 2 on closing the sale on the first call happens after you get through the sales pitch and get to your first objection. Then we enter what I like to call the looping phase. Now, the root of most objections usually comes down to one of 3 things, and it's your job as a salesperson to help lead them to the true root of their objection so that you can close the sale. The first thing that is the root of so many objections that come out of their mouth, so I call them surface level objections, like I can't afford it, I need to talk to my spouse, I need to think about it, maybe later. And then we have our root level objections. And the first root of many of the objections is that they don't trust your offer. Now, this could be for a number of different reasons. Maybe there was a feature that they were thinking that they need to have that you don't have, or that you haven't even told them about yet. Or maybe they bought a similar offer in the past and it didn't deliver as promised. Either way, there's something off in the buyer's minds, right? So most of the time, they don't know exactly what's off. So they give you that surface level objection to try to figure it out. And this is when we complete our first loop, and it looks like this. So we just asked for the sale, and then they presented their first objection, which happens, to be honest, about 90% of the time, right? It's rare that they say yes right away, or that they flat out say no right away either. So most of the time you're going to get an objection. And then our first reaction is what? Our first reaction is usually to handle that surface level objection, right? So if they said, I can't afford it, then we usually go into some sort of calculation or something like that to figure out like, ooh, you know, they can't afford it, so let's work out the math and let's show them how they can afford it, or let's talk about the ROI. But we're not going to do that, okay? Because we pre-handled those objections during our pre-call questionnaire. It's unlikely that the objection they present is really what's off. So instead, we're going to bypass the objection. And then we're going to test, and we're going to see whether or not they trust your offer fully. And that's going to sound something like this. So they might say, you know, it sounds good, but I need to talk to my spouse about it. And then we're going to bypass their objection. We're going to say something like, you know, can I just check in with you first here, Sarah, on how this fits in to what you feel you need? So your spouse aside, how do you feel about the offer itself? On a scale of 1 to 10, let's say, how excited are you about this making a difference in your business? And the number that they say is going to tell you a lot about how much they trust your offer. If they're a 6 or a below, they don't trust your offer. And honestly, the chances of you getting them there and you closing that sale is slim to none. So usually if they say that they are a 6 or lower, I release them from the call and I say something like, okay, it sounds like you're not excited about it. And if you're not excited about it, your spouse isn't going to be either. So I'm just going to release you back to your day, but we can still be friends. Cool? If they're a 7, an 8, or a 9, then there's something off on the offer itself, and they're probably willing to hear you out on that. So usually I just ask them, well, it sounds like you're excited, but that we're missing something for you. So tell me, what's missing that would take you to a 10 out of 10? Then you can address what's missing and you can move on to the second loop. And if they're a 10, then we validated that it's not your offer and we're going to move on to loop 2. Okay, so we're just gonna simply bypass their objection by saying, you know, money aside, or your spouse aside, or time aside, or whatever it is. If that was not an issue, how would you feel about the offer on a scale of 1 to 10? Step number 3 is to complete loop number 2. All right, so it might feel like we're going in circles here, but I promise you that we're getting somewhere, because now we validated whether or not the offer is the problem. So we're gonna loop all the way back, and we're gonna ask for the sale again by stacking on another benefit. So this might sound something like this. I'm really excited that this is a 10 for you. Something that I didn't mention is that you're going to have lifetime access to the program and to the private coaching group where you can ask questions for as long as the program exists in this capacity. So because we know that different objections come up all the time, this will mean that you'll always have access to myself and to my coaching team whenever a new surprise issue arises in the future. Does that sound like something that you can move forward with today? Now, once you stack a benefit and you ask for the sale, notice I asked for the sale again by saying, does that sound like something that you could move forward with today? Either they're going to say yes, which at this point, you're going to capture about another 30% of people. If you take them through this first loop, 30% of people, that's all they're going to have needed. Congratulations, you just upped your closing ratio. Yay! Or, right, they're going to be a no, which great. We just did our job. We got them to a 100% yes or a 100% no. Or they're going to hit you with another objection. It might be the same objection the second time, or it might be a whole brand new one. And the funny thing is that a lot of times I hear a brand new one. Now we know these are surface level objections, right? We're getting to the root of what the real objection is. So we want to make sure that our potential client feels loved and that they feel heard, but we also need to get to another potential root. And that second potential root objection is, do they trust themselves? So we're going to handle the objection and we're going to seamlessly move into uncovering whether it's trust of themselves that's holding them back. Now, I've seen this done in a way that makes it super uncomfortable for the other person, where they make the assumption that the person's not trusting themselves or struggling with mindset, instead of letting that client come to the conclusion on their own. So all you're going to do is make a buyer defensive and immediately stop trusting you if you make those assumptions, okay? Because you don't want to offend or make assumptions about how disciplined your client is around implementing. We're just going to simply ask them. So if they say that they're confident that they will do what they need in order to get results, then we're going to tell them about our guarantee and then ask for the sale again. Now, if you don't have a guarantee, you can also stack another benefit here. If they're not confident that they'll do what they need in order to get results, so maybe they don't have time or they haven't succeeded in the past, then we're going to let them know how you'll help them with that. And then they just need to be willing to take that first step today. Okay, just tell them, you just need to be willing to take that first step today, and I'm going to guide you through the rest, depending on whether your offer is done for you or done with you, right? So here's what that might sound like. Can I just ask you, Sarah, are you the type of person who will implement something, or do you tend to get in your own way? Now, if Sarah tells us, I'm the type of person who implements, I'm a hardcore implementer, then we might say, okay, so let me just remove the risk here for you, because I get that we just met. If you implement this program and you don't make your money back within our 90 days together, we'll refund you. And all you need to be willing to do is to trust yourself and be ready to take that first step. Is that something that you feel that you could do? Now, if they answer something like, oh, I tend to get in my own way, I've done things like this in the past, and to tell you the truth, I didn't do much with them, right? That's a harder one to get through, because they're like telling you, yeah, you know, I've done this in the past, I don't really trust that I'm going to do the work. You know, like, oh man, well, you have to do the work. So this is where we might say something like this. So what's great about this program, Sarah, is that we have accountability built in every step of the way. You submit the assignments, and if we don't see them, we follow up with you to make sure that you get what you need in order to get them done. Because I get that people get stuck sometimes. So I have every faith in you that you'll be able to succeed with this. But if you implement it and you don't see a return on your investment, then we'll refund you after the program ends. So all you need to be willing to do today is to take that first little step and allow yourself to receive the help. Is that something that you think you could do today? So notice that we just asked for the sale again by saying, is that something you think you can do today? Which means that we're headed into loop number 3. So our fourth step is to complete the third loop. Now, we've asked for the sale today, so they're either going to say yes, in which case we celebrate, yay, right? Or they're going to say no, in which case we still celebrate because yay, we did our job, we led them through clarity, we're not going through follow-up hell. Or they're going to hit you with another objection again, right? If they hit us with an objection, we already know it's not your offer because they've gotten to the 10 out of 10 on that. We've helped them through that. And if they were a 6 or below, we already released them from the call. We've given them the opportunity to move past not trusting themselves. So the final thing that we need to test, the final root level objection we need to test is whether or not they trust you. Now, it's always a difficult pill to swallow when you get to this point and realize, uh-oh, maybe they don't trust me, right? Maybe they don't trust me after all of this. It might be something you said. It might just be that you remind them of someone they don't like from their past. It might be that they don't like your tone of voice and a facial expression that you made at some point. Whatever it is, this is the toughest root objection to handle because it's a matter of personality. Now, the good news is that we don't make it here very often. So if you're talking only to qualified prospects, which you should be when you implement the pre-call questionnaire from step 1, then most people will close in the first and the second loop. But we're up for the challenge, right? So loop number 3 looks just like our second loop. We've asked for the sale. They gave us an objection. We're going to handle that objection. So we handle the money objection, spouse objection, whatever that is. But then instead of asking for the sale at that point, we're going to immediately move into finding out if they trust us. So the best way to handle that, so that neither of you get defensive, is to present some facts or a case study. Now, I always have a case study handy. So when we speak to hard numbers, it can lend credibility and will help you earn back some of that trust. Now we're going to complete the looping process by asking for the sale one more time. So we go over the case study, we bring them back to facts and hard numbers, try to get them past anything. Maybe you remind them of an aunt that they didn't like, or, you know, a bully in high school who said something, you have the same facial features, whatever it is. We're going to lend some credibility to that. We're going to ask for the sale one more time. Now, step number 5, if after you ask for the sale that final time, the potential client hands you another objection, I don't want you to despair. All is not lost. And some decision makers, like collectors, right? I talked about my husband's that collector of information. They genuinely need time to process a decision. So they may also have someone else that they need to talk to who's involved in the decision. Maybe they have a business partner or somebody else that they absolutely need to talk to. Now, we don't want to slip into follow-up hell. We've already learned that. So we move into what I like to call the container process. And the container process looks something like this. So once we finish the looping process, we've gone through all 3 loops. We discovered it's not our offer. It's not that they don't trust themselves. It's not that they don't trust us. There's just something else maybe that they need. And they might just need to process the information or have a discussion with somebody. Then we're going to book a 15-minute follow-up appointment for them to get to a yes or a no decision and to finish that sales call within 24 to 48 hours. If you need to go out a week, you can do that, but never more than a week, okay? When you leave them, then you're going to ask them to complete some sort of gut checks exercise that you're going to send them via PDF or email. Now, a gut check exercise, I always have a hard time saying that. I should change the name. Contains 3 things. So thing number 1 is that you want to have them reconnect in with the benefits of what they're most excited about when it comes to your offer. Thing number 2 that your gut check should have is have them connect the dots on any fears that they might be having. And gut check number 3 is that you want to ask them to check in with their gut. That's why it's called a gut check. So I really like this exercise that I learned from Gabrielle Bernstein. I believe it was in her book, The Universe Has Your Back. but I'm not 100% sure on that, but I do know it was her. Have them flip a coin. That might sound really stupid, but hear me out. Have them flip a coin. Heads, they move forward. Tails, they're a no. So heads, they're yes. Tails, they're a no. And ask them to pay attention to how they feel when the coin lands. Do they feel excited? Do they feel disappointed? Right? Have them check in with their gut. So this allows them to really bypass the fears that are coming into their brain and just to check in with themselves on where their gut is at, like what's their gut feeling. This is going to help them make a decision. It's going to help them to process the information that they have and really to check in with how they're feeling. Now, the gut check exercise also helps them stay out of their rational mind. Their rational mind's job is to protect them. So naturally, when you get off a sales call, what happens? They start to rationalize the price. Well, can I really afford this? What are the things am I going to have to give up? And they get away from all of the benefits that you've talked about, all of the things that they were excited about, all of the things that they know they need. And they start to step into, well, my current state of normal sounds a lot more comfortable than doing all this work, right? Or my current state of normal feels a lot more comfortable, even though it's not exactly where I want to be. It's still more comfortable than spending that money, right? So what will this really do for them, right? So instead of how much it costs or what others will think, it allows them to really step into how they feel about this decision. Now, they don't need to send you back the exercise. They just need to complete it with themselves so that they can make the decision that aligns with their wants and not with their fears. So when we get back on the phone with them, you want to let them know that it's not your job to get them to say yes. Let them know that it's your job simply to lead them to a 100% yes or a 100% no decision. And instead of the maybe that you're on right now, and you hope that the exercise helped them discover what that was. Simply ask again for the sale and then listen for their answer. If they give you another objection, then it's 100% no, and you should let them know this, right? So it's more loving to finish the process by saying, okay, so I'm going to say that it's a no, because if you're not in by now, then there's something in your intuition telling you that it's off. That's totally cool with me, and if something changes, I want you to reach back out. How does that sound? Now, sometimes they'll be like, no, you know what? I think that I'm in. Or, oh, you know what? There's just this one thing really bothering me. And that's all they really need to move forward. And other times they'll be like, yeah, you know what? I think that is the best decision. So that feels really good for both of you because now you have completion. Now, I went through a ton today, so let's recap the 5 steps to closing the sale on the first call. Step number 1 was to have your prospect complete a pre-call questionnaire where you can weed out any potential objections before you meet. Step number 2 was to bypass the first objection and to find out whether or not they trust your offer. Step number 3 was to handle their second objection and to find out whether or not they trust themselves. Step number 4 was to handle their third potential objection and to find out whether or not they trust you. And if needed, step number 5 was to put them into a container call and to have them do a gut check exercise to bypass their rational mind and help them listen to their intuition. Now, I don't want you to be overwhelmed because this is a skill. You're not going to nail this the first time that you do it. I promise you that. As much as I would love to say you're going to nail it the first time, it's a skill. So just like a basketball player, when they first picked up a basketball, had no clue how to dribble, you're going to go out there, you're going to try this for the first time, and you might fall on your face. That doesn't mean that I don't want you to try it, because every single time that you do it, you're going to get better and better and better and better, and then you're going to nail it. Right? And then your closing rate is going to go up. And then you're going to be helping so many people. And they are going to go through this process and be like, oh my gosh, that felt like a warm hug. That didn't even feel like a sales call. And that's what people say to me when we go through sales calls. They say, wow, that feels so good. I have so much clarity. And I know exactly what it is that I want to do. Whether they were a yes or whether they were a no, we get a lot more yeses than we do no nowadays. But I've spent 15 years building up this skill. Now, I've developed the process to make that a lot shorter for you. So what I would like to do, I hope that at this point that I have earned the right to tell you just a little bit more about what it looks like for us to work together further. So we covered a lot in this session, but we know that this isn't everything that comes up when it comes to client creation. We need to be able to get people on calls in the first place, right? What do we do to actually get them to the pitch? Are we going through the right types of conversation? Do we have the right offer in front of them? So this isn't going to be a sales pitch. This is simply going to be an invitation to another complimentary offer for you. So I don't want you to put up your sales wall or to tune out just yet. Before I tell you what I have for you though, I just want to tell you a little bit about who this is for. So we are currently looking for creative entrepreneurs who sell high ticket services, anything between $2,000 to $100,000 packages. Because you focus on what you're amazingly talented at, like coaching or maybe interior design or photography or maybe ghostwriting or web design, maybe you aren't as skilled at getting leads and closing them, right? So while you're insanely talented and you offer so much value in what you do, maybe the world just doesn't know it because you're not quite sure on how to sell your services. So this might mean that you're currently working for less than what you know that you're worth, and you want to get to that high to get $2,000 to $100,000 offer. Or it could be that you're hanging on to a corporate job, even though you want to move fully into doing what you love. Or maybe it's that you don't have a selling system that has meant that you haven't been able to duplicate and to bring on a team to help you grow, leaving you to be the marketer, the salesperson, and the one who fulfills all of your agreements, and you want to be able to bring someone on board to help you out. So if that sounds like you, I'd like to invite you into a complimentary client creation session. So during our session together, myself or my husband Kyle will help you to develop a roadmap so that you can get super clear on what your high ticket offer is, the offer that you can charge between $2,000 to $100,000 for, and get super clear on who you're offering it to, because if you're trying to sell to everybody, you're effectively selling to nobody, okay? It's also going to help you to gain clarity around how to build a selling system that converts the prospects that you push into your pipeline into paying customers. And then also understand how you can add more automation into your selling system so that once it's firing on all cylinders, you can turn up the volume and crank out more sales without more human effort. At the end of our call, the plan is yours to keep. And if you feel like you still need more help at the end of the call, we can talk about what it looks like to work together and how that fits into your budget. If this sounds like a fit for you, and if you want to take advantage of this, there are just 3 steps, okay? 3 steps that I need you to take in order to book this session. I'm gonna make you work for it just a little bit. All right, so step number 1 is to go to heatherpasnansky.com/high ticket. We will link it in the description box below or link it in the button right below this video. Step number 2 is to answer a few questions and tell us about you. This is really important because we want to make sure that we can make the most of our time together. And step number 3 is once you submit the questionnaire, you'll be taken to a booking page. You'll see some case studies at the top if you'd like to go through those. And at the bottom, you'll see a calendar. That's where you can book a time that's convenient for you. Now, don't skip that step or else we are going to assume that you got that far and you decided that you didn't want the call, okay? So go ahead and book the call at that point. Now, here's the caveat. There are just 2 of us taking these calls, right? Which means that spots are limited. We do have paying clients that we are working with every single day. So I only want you to book if you are truly ready to present your high ticket offer to the world. And if you are truly ready to create a selling system that converts with love and respect for your prospects. And if you are truly ready to show up for your clients and to stop hiding behind your computer for fear of being seen. All right, so if that's you, I want you to snap up your spot at heatherpasnansky.com/high ticket, fill out that questionnaire, and then make sure you take the step to book the call with us. Let us help you map out your core offer, your selling system, and your scale paths. And if you felt today's session was valuable and productive, And then I promise you that working with us in a one-on-one call setting will be even more powerful for you and for your business and for your clients, who will finally be able to see who you are and how you can help them. So I want to thank you all so much for being here, and we will see you on our client creation call together.